for Cameron. Cameron goes. Himmelberg! Oh, that's over the top. Himmelberg!
Oh, this is as big a win as it gets for Richmond in home and away football. We're down to 18 seconds. Right with a little give. Oh, yes!
Hello, I'm Damien Barrett and welcome to Access All Areas. Some fantastic victories for a few teams and some concerning losses for a couple of others. Matthew Lloyd and Jimmy Bartell, which team had the best win and who, among your minds, was the biggest loser from the weekend?
Oh, my biggest winner of the round was the Tigers, missing so many star players and to get a really gutsy win down there. And the biggest loser for me, the Crows. I think everyone was expecting them to really challenge for the top four and I think we're not sure at the moment.
Yeah, biggest winner for me is the GWS Giants. To go to a place they've never won before, that was just a brilliant win on the road. Fantastic, losing Collingwood as well. And the biggest loser, Carlton. Just the heartbreak in those rooms afterwards. They had it and lost it right on the end. That's a bad loss.
Let's start there, because there was high drama in the way that game finished on the Gold Coast. When Jack Bowes grabbed the ball late, you can see the time remaining on the clock and you can work out that they needed a goal to win at this late stage, and they got it. It was a list of errors there from the Blues prior to that moment. What happened?
Shouldn't get that much time, you wouldn't have thought. There should be 36 players down there in that last block. Here's another passage of play. Mark Murphy, could he have got that ball up in the air, but he was pretty fatigued and probably worried about getting it smothered, but still, I thought there was a stoppage there where they just didn't really fill the area enough. If that was a top 4, top 6 team, there's no way the Suns would have scored at that period. Yeah,
but they could have been... they lost their first game by 1 point to St Kilda. Otherwise, it's a clean record.
Just, it's fantastic for Stewie Jew. We've never known whether he was a good coach or not with the squad he had, but I think he's proving that he's got them organised. They haven't got the talent of other teams, but Jimmy, they're in every match.
Yeah, exactly right. I think he's got them with those senior players they've added. A couple of guys from out of the other leagues, VFL, CNFL, and you add the players who've got senior experience from other games. Allows them to compete for longer, and then these younger players can feed off the back of that.
It was a mistake-riddled game. Both teams made them, and both teams made them late. It could have gone either way, and the Suns made it easy for Carlton to stay in front for a while.
Oh, no doubt they did, Damo. They made some horrible errors. This is one here. Sexton's had a great year, but look to the left. Jack Bowes is on. He's got to hit that. Look at the scoreboard. They were down by 5 points at that stage. Bowes gives him a real spray. 2 metre Peter. He's never quite got it right at AFL level, and this sort of sums it up. Mark that. They go 7 points up with 7 minutes to go.
He has to go for it, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has to go for it. And then this one, we see the player here, Chris Burgess, just drops the mark. He should have taken. And just you thought it's not going to be their day. Carlton are going to win it.
Yeah, well, I'll go to Carlton's side. We saw that stoppage before, and this is a great learning experience for a lot of their players. And this is how you mature as a side. Look, Paddy Dow, he's doing a lot right. He'll probably wish he handballed that on the outside there to Fisher. Keep the ball on the outside. Worst case, you get a boundary throw in if it gets fumbled. This one here, see, as we see again, just bring it back inside. Just take the outside. You can kick long down the line, look at the score, you get a stoppage, you play it in your half.
So why doesn't he know that? He's an elite young talent. Why does he not know that, Jim?
No, I think he's just backing himself in. Look, it's just a learning experience. This one
here... crucially here, where should McGovern be?
McGovern should be on the goal line. He should identify that there's 3 or 4 Carlton players in front of him, what they call contest coverage here. Pull right back. He doesn't need to be closer. He's not going to affect the contest.
Should Dale Thomas also have provided cover in that moment there?
No, well, Daisy was okay because he was corridor side. And we've mentioned here, Mark Murphy, he probably thought his kick was going to get smothered. And look, the game was at the end, absolutely exhausted. Tried to have a win, and again, lucky this Gold Coast player heard the siren. Yeah. That would have been deliberate out on the full, having a shot afterwards. So I think it's Homch coming across him there. He's tried to kick it underneath, the smother coming his way.
Look, it leaves Carlton the only winless team on the season. Obviously 0-4 on 2019. Won only 2 games in 2018. And Brendan Bolton's overall record now is 15 wins from 70 games. It's even worse than that when you drill down. It's only 3 wins in the past 36.
Yeah, and he talks about improvement. And they aren't playing horrible football. But what I will say, Damo, is their entries inside forward 50, it's an absolute dog's breakfast. And you look at Charlie Curnow. Charlie Curnow's really struggling. I know he has had injuries and those sorts of things, but they're just wasting a lot of opportunities. They went to Gibbons countless times when you wonder they've got McGovern, Mackay and Curnow down there. Why are they going to Gibbons all the time? Their foot skills just aren't up to where they should be under Bolton's time after 70 games.
Do you sense, Lloyd, because I'm of the view they will stick with Bolton throughout the remainder of this year, regardless of how bad that win-loss ratio is?
They will, but as every loss mounts, Damo, more pressure gets heaped upon. They'll ask the question, is he the right man? So they have to get some occasional wins to justify that improvement.
Yep. Jimmy, I think the Hawks were really unfortunately dealt with by umpires in round 2 against the Bulldogs. I reckon it happened again on the weekend against St Kilda. Incidents late in the piece. Loney comes in here to tackle Mirror. Now, OK, the umpires decided to pay that as holding the ball. It's not in keeping with what we've seen this year.
No, it's a wrong decision. Let's just call it what it is. And Hawthorn, probably quite rightly feel aggrieved. And the problem is they've had bad decisions at bad times of the game. You mentioned the Bulldogs ones late in the game when the Bulldogs were coming at them. He's fallen over and the ball's come back in. We heard the umpire over the little grab there, ball dragged in. 1 minute later,
same
player fell over, ball there. The umpire said, same umpire in the back 50 there for the Hawks. No, ball up. So, look, I'm sure Alistair Clarkson will be calling Gill and asking for a coffee again.
Well, he did, and he did that famously last year. John Longmire didn't like it, but I think he's got every reason to now bring the laptop again for a coffee with Gill, because you could argue that has cost Hawthorn that game of footy. Now, no one's going to say that publicly, but the free kick that was given to Loney was converted to a goal, and then it wasn't paid the same way.
All you want is consistency, so I look forward to hearing the umpiring department today whether which one they got wrong and which one they got right.
Jimmy, you've been big on Jack Billings. Others have been critical, and I think rightly so, given it's taken him a long time to establish himself. But what he's doing this year is quite extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah, I think people forget he's 23 and he's a bit of a victim of who else went after the draft. We tend to do that a bit, draft in hindsight. But look, you go back to 2017 when he played more as a half forward. If he would have kicked straight, he would have been in the All-Australian squad, not saying All-Australian player, because he kicked 23 goals, 36, while averaging over 20 touches. Now, last year they tried to put him up on the wing. He was out of form, came back in. They put him back to being a forward where he had his great effect again. But this is what we're seeing in this footage. What I like about him now is his work rate. He's willing to get up and back, and he's a fantastic ball user. He just needs to get his confidence back when he's kicking for goals still, but he's a beautiful
composure there to put himself in that situation and stop the flow back out.
Exactly right. And you ask anyone who was part of his draft, they saw this kid at underage footy kicking left and right foot, 50 metres, beautiful kick, just I think a little bit more patience, and people shouldn't write off young players so quickly.
Jimmy, Lordy, in case you haven't listened to it yet, I want to let you know about the new and improved AFL Exchange podcast. Callum Toomey, Mitch Cleary, Rolly Beveridge cover just about every AFL topic you can think of, and also those which you may never have thought of previously. AFL Exchange tackles the game in a light-hearted way and is a great listen, so do yourself a favour, search for AFL Exchange wherever you go for your podcast.
Or get to your local shopping centre and see that boy band perform there, Lloydie.
Did the power go off when they got dressed or something?
What shirt has Cal got on there?
Highly questionable attire there, particularly from Mitch Cleary. The Giants, terrific win by them at the Cattery.
Brilliant win. I think it's one of the wins of the season, or the biggest win of the season. I just thought they started really poorly, Jim, the GWS Giants. I thought, how far Geelong? They lose Callan Ward. But just their ability. They've got so many players in good form, and I love the balance between their attack and defence at the moment. Yeah,
I think you're spot on. I think the first 15, 20 minutes of the game, I think they were still playing, we're down at Geelong and we haven't won, and this great Geelong side that's been dominant down there. But they were more physical in the end. They were bigger, off the back of Hopper and Cornelio in that second quarter in particular. And to grind out the win the way they did, I think that is a turning point for them, that they can actually play sort of, that dirty, tough inside footy and get wins without always having to be free-flowing.
A genuine adversity, wasn't it, under which it was played in, given what happened to Callan Ward. The leader, as co-captain and spiritual force of that footy club. This happened in the first 5 minutes of the game, and that may be, Jimmy, part of why they took 15, 20 minutes to get their act together.
Yeah, exactly right. And unfortunately, that was Cal's good knee. He just came back from having an injury with his other knee. And you mentioned it, he is the heart and soul of the Giants. He's one of the original Giants as well, and skipper. But look, they'll be able to cover his loss because you've got Taranto parked on the forward line for a fair bit of the game. He can come up. They can bring Bonner back in. There's Toby Green to come back in. So they've got the numbers and the depth to play, again, that physical style, but you always love to have Cal Ward out there on your side.
Yeah. Lordy, I loved how Harry Himmelberg in the 2017 preliminary final, against the odds, stood up with 4 goals against Richmond. He stood up when this game had to be won, didn't he?
Look at the scoreboard, 6 points down and also 11 minutes on the clock, and you just got to go, and we ask for courage for players, and we pull them apart when they don't do it, but Himmelberg just did not quiver 1 minute. We took us back to some of the great marks over the years. Jonathan Brown, probably cost Jonathan Brown his career in the end, this courage.
That's 2002.
Yeah, 2002, but had to retire through the concussion. And then this last one, Revolt. Love Dennis Committee's commentary here. He just said, look out. That's Revolt. That's just something that normally you'd say go front and square, Nick. But you can't, certain players won't do that. And just on the Giants, They just went after Dangerfield, went after Tim Kelly, took him out of the game. It was a great win by the Giants.
I like what they're doing on all aspects of their operations at the moment. Jimmy, you mentioned Richmond off the top of the program. You really like what they did, and that man there stood up in the absence of rants, Dylan Grimes.
Absolutely massive. Now, he doesn't get the credit and the plaudits that other Richmond players do, but he'll probably be an All-Australian at the end of the year. I know I'm going early, but he's impossible to beat one-on-one. And what he did the other night was contested marks. Took 5 contested marks, 13 contested possessions. He was the wall back there and saved, especially deep in the last quarter, along with Asprey and a couple of other young players for the Tigers, Lloydie.
There were 18 inside 50s from Port. We're watching most of them unfold here. Asprey and Stack also taking good intercept marks. This one not an inside 50, but this from Ross. They did it well, didn't they?
They did, and Port will ask themselves the question, why keep blazing away? Think through the situation. They haven't got runners anymore, but show some leadership. Lower your eyes a little bit. It's a game they should have won, but well done to the Richmond Footy Club. That was a great win.
Memo went out to AFL clubs after round 2 about the crackdown or the focus on prohibited contact. It seemed to go missing in this instance here. Bottom of screen, Sam Powell-Pepper seemingly doing what you are not meant to do at any stage of a game and yet not being penalised for it.
Well, it's a free kick. The umpire can see it straight in front of him. 5 metres away, he was front and square. And
so you could do that in round 4, but you couldn't do this in round 2. Like I said, just barely grazing his opponent there.
I think, Lloydie, you highlighted earlier in the show, players just want consistency. Yeah. So if they know all day that's going to be a free kick, they'll play to that. But if you pay some and you don't pay some, that's where the frustration comes from.
Yep. Didn't like this either from North Melbourne's Ben Brown on the weekend. Again, he got the free kick and some would argue it's there, but the little pirouette at the end of that particular contact there from Riley O'Brien, I didn't like the way it came out. Now, there's bigger things to worry about over the course of the weekend's football, but I don't think Ben Brown's going to look back on that with much pride.
It's not a great look, but I actually don't like the free kick in the ruck. If a ruckman is stronger and able to hold his ground, now we've got them going one-on-one. Isn't that part of just ruck craft? We saw a number over the weekend where the ruckman and the centre bounce were pinged for putting the straight arm out. To me, that's ruck craft. If you're bigger and stronger and you can position yourself, I don't understand why it's a free kick against. I know we're talking about the Ben Brown going flying out, but it shouldn't be a free kick if you're just in a better position.
There's real lethargy with what the Crows are doing in 2019, and it surprised a lot of people, but they were not very good against North Melbourne in a game that they were expected to win.
Yeah, a lot of turnovers in a poor game of football, and the forward line is just copping it left, right and centre. Eddie Betts and Tex Walker and Josh Jenkins, but they don't want to kick to a contest, and they're a tough midfield. But it's just a lot of this uncontested style play. Jenkins and the forwards want an uncontested style of play. Surely they're better than this, and they've got to adjust.
They only had about 38 inside 50s. Now, no matter how talented you are on the forward line, you just need opportunity. I'm with Lloydie. Kick it to a contest, get that dangerous half-back line running and carrying and taking a bit of risk. They're just parked across their half-back line, playing this real slow kick mark, get some overlap going.
But that's not what got them to a grand final in 2017, is it? It's not what made them look good on occasions within a pretty ordinary season last year, that they are 2-stop start at the moment.
Yeah.
Is it as simple as just reinvigorating themselves by playing that play on football?
Well, I think so. Look, we'll talk about Essendon soon, Damo.
Yeah. Well, let's do it now, because it's a contrast between what we just saw there with the Crows and what Essendon has now produced in 2 weeks of footy. Melbourne last week and then Brisbane Lions on the weekend. They're playing that run-on football.
Well, they had a shocker against the Giants, and they're beaten by a very, very good football team in round 1. I think round 2 was, I think they've tried a new game style, they've bought into new systems, whereas I reckon they've said, hey, let's release the shackles and let's just play. I think there was too much being told to Tip and Woody, Fantasia, where that was curtailing their exuberance and their skill. I reckon they've been allowed to play the way they want to play.
Well, Tipping Woody, who we'll see in a moment, has kicked 11 goals in the past 2 weeks, 7 in this game on the weekend, 4 the week prior. And when he's in that form, he's close to unstoppable.
And he started half back in this play. You'll watch him come flying through the screen. It's the work rate's up, his confidence about. But, Lloydie, with that ball movement, you've got to be willing to take a risk and make an error, because if you keep going, you can make up for it. In the first couple of these, handball hit the ground. You know, we'll see a drop mark coming up here. But it's a high energy, and players just play with freedom. They're not trying to play safe.
Now they've got Hooker and Hurley back there. They can take even more risks, and they'll sort of defend for you. So after the first 2 rounds, they're now suddenly playing some pretty good football and will challenge for the 8.
They will.
They will, I think. On that football, I don't think there's too many teams who play in that ballistic, dynamic style. Probably the Giants are the only other one.
Shannon Hurn's not underappreciated by people who know him and work with him at the West Coast Eagles. He's now got a third Ross Glendinning medalist. His 5th year as captain. He's now racked up 250 AFL games, and yet he's almost unknown on this side of the country in terms of the effect and impact he can have in a good era for this footy club. How important is he, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think you touch on there. You know, West Coast supporters and your hardened footy fans absolutely love this guy and rate him because he doesn't get beaten and he's a lethal kick of the footy. But I think people's eyes are being opened up who just watch footy casually or over here in the East. The guy's an absolute star. He's super consistent. And we talk about the kick-in rule favouring one player. It's almost Shannon Hurn down to a T. He's just so destructive out of kick-ins.
I don't want to embarrass Jimmy, but there's not too many players like Jim or Hurn or a Luke Hodge who are tough over the football, but also as skillful as they are.
Yeah.
And that's why he's so good, because he's hard to stop, tough, and great with his foot skills. Collingwood
got its way to a tough win against the Bulldogs. Again, playing in a style that is counter to what they did last year, which got them to a grand final, but it got the results on the weekend. They did so too by putting Jordan De Goey into the centre and into the middle when it counted. And it's robbed one part of the ground to get the benefits in the other, isn't it, with him?
Yeah, I think they're still trying to work out their rotations or who plays where. They've probably got a dozen guys who could legitimately play midfield, but they're trying to find, you know, how many minutes they play out in their other positions, whether it be wing, forward or half back. There was a good change the other night, Lloydie, that they were just lacking a little bit of spark away from the contest and they threw De Goey up onto the ball.
It made a huge difference. I watched him last year on Queen's birthday and he had 10 clearances to half-time. So he's capable of being one of the elite midfielders in the competition. I think he needs to be 50-50 and it'll work for Collingwood.
Yep. Time now for the Access Big Ask, and this one goes to both of you. Most disappointing team so far in 2019?
Melbourne for me.
The Adelaide Crows.
Both answer this question too. Who's the best ruckman in the league?
Brodie Grundy.
Yeah, Grundy.
To Lloydie, if you could choose one current player to kick a set-shot goal for your life, who is it?
I'd say Anthony McDonald, Tipperary.
Oh, I'll go Kennedy from the Eagles.
I wasn't asking you, Jimmy. I'll ask you this one. Mark of the week.
I wanted to get it.
Mark of the week. Do you go with the high flyer in Crozier or the one we just saw before on Himmelberg?
Crozier.
Lloydie, what was the worst game to watch? Kangaroos Crows or Fox Footy's sickening Game of Thrones cross promotion?
They tried something, Fox Footy. I don't think it worked, but I'll give them credit for trying.
I'm getting sick of that promo. Jimmy, who's closer to a flag, the Crows or Port Adelaide?
The pair, Port Adelaide.
Port Adelaide.
The Port Adelaide pair.
Pair.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever that means. Lloydie, how are we going to close the show today?
I'll close the show with a few double Falcons, I think. I know we lost Timmy Cale, and maybe he's putting life after football, Dane Rampy. He's thinking, Timmy time. I'll get in there next time and win it. But that's hard to do. And he still won the footy afterwards, Timmy.
An effective header from Champion Data. And I've got a quick little ankle breaker here from Harbrow. Watch the pick-up first here. Poor Newman, I think his teammates might highlight this for him. Where are you going? And then delivers. Hopefully get that from the other angle. I think the pickup's just impressive.
What a player he is. Greatest player in the Suns' history, this bloke, Jared Harbrow.
And stayed thick too, hasn't he, when others have walked out. Lloydie, Jimmy, thank you, and thanks for joining us. A heads up, for next week's show with the Easter Monday public holiday, we will be on Tuesday for Access All Areas. So we'll see you then. Have a good week. Goodbye.